Welcome back to Beneath the Surface, the dark side of crime. In today's gripping tale, we delve into a shocking family tragedy that will leave you reeling. A sister's betrayal cuts deeper than anything you could imagine, shattering the bonds that once held a family together. This is a story of love, jealousy, revenge, and a deadly secret that has been buried for far too long. Stay with us as we uncover the chilling truth behind a deadly family betrayal, one that will change everything. Chapter 1. The Calm Before the Storm. The Harrison family had always embodied the picture of suburban perfection. Their house in Ashton Hills, a serene town nestled between sprawling hills and a nearby river, was more than just a home. It was a sanctuary. The warm, golden glow of the sunset touched the corners of their quiet cul-de-sac as children played in front yards and neighbors exchanged pleasantries over fences. It was the kind of neighborhood that invited people to feel safe and comfortable. And at the center of this idyllic neighborhood was the Harrison family. Susan, the loving and compassionate mother, Claire, the diligent older daughter, and Olivia, her unpredictable younger sister. Susan had raised her daughters with care, teaching them the importance of honesty, integrity, and family above all else. To Susan, family was everything, and she prided herself on having instilled those same values in Claire and Olivia. But while Claire embraced these values wholeheartedly, Olivia seemed to always find herself on the other side of the fence, often testing boundaries, living impulsively, and indulging in the thrill of breaking rules. It was a contrast that became more evident as the girls grew older. Claire, now 32, had always been the responsible one. She had followed the prescribed path, excelling in school, going to a prestigious university, and eventually marrying James, a successful lawyer from a respected family. She lived in a beautifully furnished house in the same suburb where she had grown up. Her life, from the outside, was a fairy tale. But Olivia, 30, had a different story. While she was stunningly beautiful, Olivia's beauty was paired with a reckless and defiant nature. She dropped out of college, held countless short-term jobs, and had been in and out of relationships, each one more tumultuous than the last. Despite her beauty and charm, Olivia could never seem to get it right. Watching her older sister succeed only fueled the quiet anger within her. The jealousy that had simmered for years was now beginning to boil over. And then came that fateful night. It was an evening like any other in the Harrison household. Dinner was being prepared in the kitchen, the aroma of roast chicken filling the air. James and Claire were talking about their day when Olivia arrived late, as usual. But this time, something was different. Olivia's carefree attitude was replaced with an unsettling coldness. "Late again," Claire remarked, her voice light, though her brow furrowed with concern. Olivia's response was a thin, forced smile. "Had some things to take care of. You know me, Claire," she said with a nonchalant shrug. As dinner progressed, Claire noticed her sister's odd behavior. She was fidgety, distracted, and barely made eye contact with anyone. Susan, their mother, noticed it too, but brushed it off, thinking it was just Olivia's usual restlessness. Little did Claire know that this dinner would mark the beginning of the unraveling of everything she held dear. After dinner, as everyone relaxed in the living room, Olivia suddenly excused herself and tugged Claire to the side. "I need to talk to you, Claire," Olivia whispered, her voice laced with urgency. Claire felt a knot form in her stomach. There was something in Olivia's tone, a combination of fear and desperation, that made her heart race. "What's going on, Liv?" Olivia hesitated for a moment before speaking in a voice barely above a whisper. "I've gotten myself into trouble. Serious trouble. I need your help, Claire. Please, I don't know who else to turn to." Chapter 2. Unraveling Bonds. The next few days passed in a haze of uncertainty. Olivia's texts became more frequent, but each one was cryptic and urgent, leaving Claire to wonder what her sister had gotten herself into. Despite Claire's reservations, she couldn't bring herself to ignore Olivia's pleas for help. She knew that Olivia had always walked a fine line between recklessness and self-sabotage, but she never imagined it would come to this. Finally, Claire agreed to meet Olivia at a quiet cafe on the edge of town. The cafe, an unassuming little place with mismatched furniture and quiet jazz music playing softly in the background, had always been Olivia's haunt. She loved the anonymity it provided, a place where no one knew her, and she could disappear into her own world. When Claire arrived, Olivia was already seated at a corner booth, her eyes scanning the room nervously. There was a different air about her now, something tense, something darker. The Olivia that Claire knew and loved had always been carefree and mischievous, but this version of her seemed fragile, broken, and full of fear. Claire sat down across from her, unable to mask the concern in her voice. "Liv, what's going on?" "You're scaring me," Claire said, her tone softer than she intended. She reached across the table, her hand gently touching her sister's. Olivia looked at Claire, her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and desperation. She glanced around the cafe, as if to make sure no one was eavesdropping. Then, in a voice barely audible, she confessed, "I've been borrowing money, Claire. Money I can't repay, and I've gotten myself tangled up with the wrong people. People who don't play by the rules. If I don't pay them back, they'll come for me." Claire's heart sank. "What people? What do you mean?" Olivia took a deep breath. "His name is Victor Russo. He's a loan shark, Claire. He runs with some dangerous people. I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought I could make quick money, but now—" She trailed off, her voice trembling. "Now, I'm in too deep." Claire listened in stunned silence, her mind racing. "What do you want me to do?" she finally asked, though she already knew the answer. "I need money," Olivia said, her voice raw with emotion. "Please, I need your help. I can't go to Mom with this. You're the only one I trust." Chapter 3. The dangerous request Claire was torn. Her natural instinct was to protect Olivia, just as she had always done. But this time, the request seemed too dangerous, too far out of her control. She knew that lending Olivia money might not solve the problem. It could just dig her deeper into trouble. But what choice did she have? Olivia was family, and no matter how reckless she had been, Claire couldn't walk away from her. "I'll help you," Claire said, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "But you need to promise me, Liv, that this is the last time. I won't keep bailing you out of these situations." Olivia nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I promise, Claire. I swear I'll make it right this time." In the days that followed, Claire withdrew a significant amount of money from her savings and handed it over to Olivia. She watched as Olivia clutched the money, her face a mixture of gratitude and shame. "This will be the last time," Claire repeated, though she wasn't sure if she believed it. But the truth was, Claire had no idea just how deep Olivia's involvement had become with Victor Russo and his dangerous associates. Olivia's promise would not be enough to pull her out of the web she had woven. Chapter 4. A Secret is Born. The discovery of the necklace receipt was the first crack in Claire's world, a crack she couldn't ignore. The gift for Olivia hit her like a ton of bricks. She had always trusted James. She had married him, built a life with him, and shared her dreams and fears with him. But now, everything she thought she knew was crumbling. It was as if someone had ripped the rug out from under her, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. When she confronted him about it, James looked at her with a mixture of guilt and resignation, his eyes darting nervously between her and the ground. "I never meant for it to happen this way," he said, his voice cracking. "Olivia and we didn't plan for it. But Claire, I've fallen in love with her. I can't help how I feel." Claire's world spun out of control as the truth settled in. Her sister, her flesh and blood, had been the one to steal her husband's heart. Her heart, which had always been open and trusting, now felt like it was being ripped apart. Olivia had betrayed her in the worst possible way, using Claire's vulnerability to her advantage. "I can't believe you're saying this," Claire whispered, the hurt in her voice more painful than any accusation. "After everything, you do this? How could you betray me like this? How could you betray us?" James looked down at his hands, his shame written all over his face. "I never wanted to hurt you, Claire. I don't know what happened, but it did, and I don't know how to fix it." The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud, suffocating Claire's every breath. How could this have happened? How had she not seen it before? The signs were there. She had just been too blind, too trusting to notice. Her sister's manipulations, the subtle shifts in Olivia's behavior, the odd looks exchanged between Olivia and James, it had all been there, right in front of her. But Claire had never imagined it would come to this. That night, Claire couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, replaying the conversation over and over in her mind. How long had the affair been going on? Had Olivia planned this all along? Or was it simply a moment of weakness that spiraled out of control? And, most of all, why? She needed answers. And, for the first time in her life, Claire realized she couldn't trust her sister. The very person she had protected, who she had always been there for, had betrayed her in the most devastating way. Claire knew she needed to confront Olivia, face to face. But the fear gnawed at her. What would she even say? And how could she possibly confront her sister without falling apart? Chapter 5. The Shocking Discovery. The days that followed were a blur for Claire. Her confrontation with James had left her raw and exposed. Her heart was shattered, but there was no time to dwell on the pain. She needed to know everything. Claire wasn't just going to sit back and let her life be torn apart by lies. She had to fight for the truth. She spent hours going through James's phone, his emails, and his texts. The truth was there, written in black and white. James and Olivia's affair had been going on for months. And it wasn't just an emotional affair. There were photographs, dates, and plans to meet up. The betrayal was deeper than Claire could have ever imagined, but there was something else buried in the messages. Something that made Claire's blood run cold. Olivia hadn't just been involved with James. She had been involved in something much darker. There were references to money, to people Claire had never heard of, to a loan shark named Victor Russo. It seemed that Olivia had been playing James for more than just his love. She had been playing him for his resources, for his connection to the wealth and influence that came with his career. Claire's mind raced as she pieced together the story. Olivia had used her to get close to James, to manipulate him into a relationship where she could drain him, not just emotionally, but financially. And when Claire had agreed to help Olivia pay off the debt, she had unknowingly become a pawn in Olivia's scheme. But that wasn't the worst part. Claire discovered that Olivia had been involved in criminal activities, money laundering, illegal transactions, and deals with people who operated in the shadows. Olivia had been feeding information to Victor Russo and his associates, using James's trust to gain access to resources that had been off-limits to her otherwise. As the evidence unfolded before Claire's eyes, a wave of sickness washed over her. Olivia had been using her from the very beginning. Every moment they had shared, every laugh, every conversation, they had all been part of a larger, more sinister game. And Claire had been too trusting to see it. She realized that Olivia's betrayal wasn't just about stealing her husband. It was about power, about control. Olivia had wanted to tear Claire's perfect life apart, and she had done it. But the worst part was that Claire had been complicit in it all, unknowingly helping her sister dig a hole that would bury them both. Chapter 6. The Deadly Betrayal. The truth was more devastating than Claire could have ever anticipated. The woman she had always loved and defended, her sister, had become a stranger, a cold, calculating manipulator who had used every ounce of Claire's love for her to destroy her life. In the days that followed, Claire confronted Olivia. The conversation was explosive. Olivia didn't apologize. Instead, she stood before Claire with a sense of cold satisfaction, as if she had won. "I never wanted to hurt you, Claire," she said, her voice eerily calm. "I just wanted a life, and you had it all. The perfect husband, the perfect career, the perfect family. I was always in your shadow, always second place, and I couldn't stand it anymore." Claire's heart shattered again, but this time there was no place left for forgiveness. "You think you can take everything from me and get away with it? You've destroyed my life, Olivia. You've destroyed everything we had." But Olivia wasn't done. Her face twisted into a smug smile. "I'm not sorry. And you know what? I'll do it again if I have to. You're weak, Claire. You always have been. I did what needed to be done, and now I have everything I ever wanted." With that, Olivia turned on her heel and walked out of Claire's life, at least for the time being. Chapter 7. A Web of Lies. With Olivia's confession, Claire's battle was far from over. Now that she knew the extent of her sister's betrayal, Claire had to find a way to clear her name. The false charges Olivia had fabricated still hung over Claire's head, and the whispers of the town were growing louder. Susan, their mother, had turned her back on Claire, convinced by Olivia's lies. Even their closest family friends had begun to distance themselves. Claire's heart ached, not just for the betrayal by her sister, but for the loss of everything she had worked so hard to build. She had trusted her family. She had trusted her sister. But now it was all slipping away. As Claire fought to reclaim her life, she uncovered more of Olivia's manipulations. She was involved with not just Victor Russo, but a network of criminals that stretched far beyond the small town of Ashton Hills. Olivia's actions weren't just personal. They were dangerous, and Claire was right in the middle of it. With the help of a private investigator, Claire started gathering evidence. It was the only way to expose Olivia for who she truly was, to take back control of her life. Chapter 8. The Breaking Point. The days felt heavier with every passing hour, as though the weight of her broken world was pressing down on Claire's shoulders. She had always been the rock for her family, the one who could be counted on no matter the circumstances. But now, that rock was crumbling. She was living in a haze of confusion, anger, and heartbreak, and every step she took seemed to lead her deeper into a pit she wasn't sure she could escape. Her confrontation with James had been the first blow, but it was Olivia's betrayal that had shattered her completely. To think that the woman she had raised, the woman she had called sister, had turned on her so ruthlessly. It was a betrayal unlike anything Claire had ever imagined. Olivia's words still echoed in Claire's mind, sharp and unforgiving. "I did what needed to be done. You're weak, Claire. You always have been. I just wanted a taste of it. And now I have it all." Every time Claire thought about those words, her stomach twisted in knots. How could Olivia be so cold, so callous? She had spent her entire life protecting her sister, defending her when their parents had scolded her for her reckless behavior, and now Olivia was the one tearing their world apart. Claire wanted to shut it all out. She wanted to hide from the pain, to walk away from the mess Olivia had made of their family. But she couldn't. She couldn't turn away. The thought of letting Olivia get away with it, the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal, made Claire's blood boil. She had to fight. She had to expose the truth. The weight of the responsibility was heavy on her shoulders, but there was no turning back now. She couldn't let Olivia win. As Claire sat in her quiet living room, the silence felt deafening. The house was a ghost of its former self. It used to be filled with laughter, love, and light. Now it felt hollow. James was distant, both physically and emotionally, and the house felt empty, even when he was home. She had gone over everything in her mind, the text messages, the photographs, the lies. It all pointed back to Olivia, and Claire knew that the only way to clear her name was to expose Olivia for what she truly was. But it wasn't just about clearing her name anymore. It was about taking back control of her life, about standing up for herself after being silenced for so long. Chapter 9. The Final Confrontation. The day of the final confrontation had arrived. Claire had never expected it to come to this. Standing face to face with Olivia, her sister, the person she had trusted more than anyone in the world, in a moment of raw, undeniable truth. It felt surreal, as if Claire were standing in a dream she couldn't wake up from. Olivia stood across from her, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. There was a coldness to her that Claire had never seen before. Olivia had always been impulsive, emotional, and a little bit wild, but there was something terrifyingly calculated in her eyes now. It was as though she had shed all pretense, all emotion, and replaced it with a chilling sense of self-satisfaction. Claire's breath caught in her throat as she met Olivia's gaze. Her heart was pounding and she could feel the anger rising in her chest, threatening to explode. She had been through hell these past weeks, and now, standing before her sister, Claire realized that this was her last chance to reclaim her life. She couldn't back down. Not now. Why, Olivia? Claire's voice broke the silence, shaky but determined. Why did you do this to me? You've ruined everything. Our family. Our lives. For what? A few stolen moments with James? A necklace? Olivia's lips curled into a small, mocking smile. You always were the perfect one, Claire. The one everyone loved. The one everyone looked up to. But you don't get it, do you? Her voice was smooth, cold. I was always in your shadow. I was always the one who had to struggle while you got everything handed to you. The perfect husband. The perfect life. The perfect future. Claire's stomach churned. Is that what this was about? Jealousy? You tore apart everything I worked for, Olivia. You used me. You used James. You manipulated us both. I trusted you. I loved you. Olivia's smile faded, replaced by a look of utter indifference. It was never about love, Claire. It was about power. I wanted power. I wanted control. You had everything. I just wanted a taste. Claire's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She had cried enough. She had been weak enough. And now, you've lost everything. You're going to pay for this, Olivia. You're going to pay for what you've done. Olivia's eyes flickered for a moment. Just a moment. But then she regained her composure. You think I'm scared of you, Claire? She let out a short, humorless laugh. You're just as weak as you always were. You couldn't stop me before, and you can't stop me now. Claire stepped forward, her fists clenched at her sides. I'm done with you, Olivia. You don't control me anymore. There was a long silence between them, as if time itself had frozen. Claire felt the weight of the years of betrayal and manipulation crash down on her, and for the first time in her life, she felt like she was truly free. Olivia's hold on her had been broken. I'm taking everything back from you, Olivia, Claire said, her voice steady and resolute. And this time, I'm not backing down. Chapter 10. The Price of Betrayal. The aftermath of Olivia's betrayal was a long, painful road. Olivia was arrested, but not before the full extent of her crimes was uncovered. The network of criminals she had been involved with, the money she had laundered, and the deals she had made behind Claire's back were all exposed. It wasn't just about the affair with James anymore. It was about something much darker. Claire, though scarred by the ordeal, emerged stronger. The community that had once turned its back on her now rallied behind her. The whispers that had once filled the streets of Ashton Hills were replaced by apologies and support. It wasn't easy. Claire still carried the weight of her sister's betrayal, but she knew she was free from it. Susan, their mother, had eventually come to terms with the truth, though it had cost her. It took time for her to heal, but she finally saw the depths of Olivia's manipulation and the destruction she had caused. But it was too late to repair the damage to their relationship. The mother-daughter bond had been irreparably fractured by Olivia's actions. James and Claire tried to salvage their marriage, but the foundation of trust had been shattered. James was deeply remorseful, but the scars of the affair were too deep. Claire knew that she deserved better than the man who had betrayed her. She filed for divorce, though the process was painful. It was difficult for Claire to let go of the dreams she had built with James. The home they had shared, the life they had planned, it was all gone now. But she knew, deep down, that it was for the best. She deserved a fresh start, a life that was truly hers. As time passed, Claire focused on herself. She rebuilt her career, reconnected with friends she had lost touch with, and started to trust herself again. The pain of the betrayal never fully disappeared, but Claire learned to live with it. She had learned to stand up for herself, to fight back when everything seemed lost, and most importantly, she had learned that no one had the power to destroy her unless she let them. Claire's journey had been one of the most painful experiences of her life, but it had also been one of the most transformative. She had lost her sister, her husband, and the life she had known, but she had gained something more valuable, the knowledge that she was strong, resilient, and capable of rebuilding from the ground up. She had learned that trust, once broken, is hard to mend, but that doesn't mean it's impossible to move forward. She had learned that family can sometimes be the greatest source of pain, but that doesn't mean we stop loving them. Sometimes we have to let go of the people we love, of the things that hurt us, and of the expectations that hold us back. But most importantly, Claire had learned that the power to heal, to move forward, and to live a life true to herself was always within her. Olivia's betrayal had tried to take that from her, but Claire refused to let it. She was not defined by the lies, the heartbreak, or the manipulation. She was defined by her strength, her courage, and her ability to rise above it all. In the end, Claire found peace, not in the things she had lost, but in the strength she had gained. Thank you for joining us on this emotional and shocking journey through betrayal, manipulation, and the fight for redemption. Claire Harrison's story is a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have the strength to rise above the pain, reclaim our lives, and start anew. Betrayal can shatter us, but it also teaches us lessons we never imagined we would learn. If you found Claire's story moving, or if you've ever experienced a betrayal of your own, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation and support each other in the face of life's most difficult challenges. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, remember to always look beneath the surface, because the darkest secrets often lie just beneath the most innocent of facades.